Hello friends, this video is a brief biography of Dr. Edward Bach, the person who founded this system of healing. The family of Dr. Edward Bach came from Wales, and the language they speak in Wales is Welsh. It is quite distinct from English, as much as Scottish and Irish are different from English language. His name is to be pronounced as Bach and not the German pronunciation of Bach. Bach rhymes with match or catch, and he used to take the trouble of telling all his colleagues wherever he worked that his name should be pronounced as Bach. Welsh is an independent language, as we saw earlier. In fact, it has 28 alphabets as compared to the 26 alphabets of English language. And strangely, the alphabets of J, K, Q, V, X or Z are non-existent. That's a very interesting fact to know. With that little knowledge, I'm sure you can read and understand Welsh. If you read these 4 words, you'll understand that they are good luck and have fun. This is a picture of Dr. Edward Bach, and what you see in the background is a cottage where he spent the last few years of his life and developed all the Bach flower remedies. This is in Oxfordshire and is called Mount Vernon. Dr. Edward Bach was an MBBS allopathic doctor. He went into vaccine research, but during the First World War, he was a physician and a surgeon. And he worked virtually 24 hours a day trying to save the lives of the many soldiers who would be admitted to the university hospital after they were injured on the French front. Dr. Bach was born on 24th of September 1886, and while he was working at the university hospital during the war, at the age of 31 in 1917, he was diagnosed with a malignant tumor of the spleen. This came as shocking news, and the doctors gave him just 3 months to live. But this was a transforming moment in his life, because this prompted him to look deeper at life, the meaning of life, and the meaning of healing. And that is when he began his many meditations and his wanderings in the countryside, trying to discover a simple yet effective means of healing. In 1919, he took up a job with the Royal London Homeopathic Hospital, which was one of the few places where vaccines used to be developed. And in the course of the vaccine development, he also discovered Bach flower remedies. He passed away on the 27th of November 1936, and as you'll see, he was just around 50 years of age when he left this world. Dr. Bach was working on what are known as bowel nosodes. I'm not going into the details of this, and you can find the information on various homeopathic websites. Today, we take the connection between the gut and the brain for granted. In fact, you can find many papers, and one of these is here, published by the Harvard Health Publishing, on the following link. And what it says is that our gut is actually a little brain in itself, and there is an interconnection between the brain in our head and the gut. And there is a constant exchange of information, and this connection determines our moods. Therefore, depression, nervousness, a loss of sense of humor, indecisiveness, or anger, or even an overwhelming sense of tension are all related to what's going on in the gut. It is not just a matter of the brain. Dr. Bach discovered this long before modern science even thought about it. And this forms the foundation of bowel nosodes and later the Bach flower remedies. Dr. Edward Bach was deeply influenced by the principles and philosophy of homeopathy. Also, he looked upon bacteriology in a different light. He was one of the first proponents to suggest that bacteria and viruses are an integral part of our physiology and our being. Today we know that there are more viruses and bacteria living in our bodies than the total number of human cells. But Dr. Bach formed this opinion long before modern science discovered it. He was also a person who was able to find the connection between our mind, our body, and our emotional and mental states. This forms the basis of Bach flower therapy. Dr. Bach was also among the first people to categorize different people according to their personality and the fact that personalities can change over a course of time. Modern psychology also acknowledges personality types, but they have little to offer in terms of remedies. Dr. Bach was that happy confluence of being able to identify a remedy that will work best with a particular personality type of a person. It will be interesting to note that by the year 1928, Dr. Bach had discovered just 3 Bach flower remedies, and they were impatiens, mimulus, and clematis. Just by using these 3 remedies which he knew at that time, he was able to cure and heal a very large number of people and did not need to use allopathic medicines at all. Later, after 1930, he devoted himself entirely to discovering other Bach flower remedies, and today we have 38 Bach flower remedies. All of them are not from plants. We shall see that exception later in the course. The point I wanted to make was that even with the knowledge of just 3 remedies, he was able to virtually eliminate so many allopathic interventions. The philosophical leanings of Dr. Bach were in fact universal. He had studied Hinduism and Buddhism and had tremendous faith in the concepts of ahimsa, dukkha, that is the real cause of our suffering, which ultimately results in disease and illness. He was also a follower of the Hippocratic dictum, cause no harm. He was also influenced by Paracelsus, the great doctor and medical philosopher from Switzerland, who believed that man is basically an expression of divinity. He was also influenced by Hahnemann in that disease originates at a plane that is higher than the physical plane. So we have to go beyond physical causes such as bacteria and other pathological agents. There is some deeper reason why some people fall sick with viruses and bacteria while the majority do not. What exactly are those conditions which make it possible for these external influences to affect human beings? One of his favorite quotes which I like in his book, which I shall be sharing with you in the course of our study, he mentions that it is a sad state of affairs that we in the West have wandered from those beautiful ideals of our Mother India of old times. Very remarkable indeed to say something. He was a person who was born around the same time as Mahatma Gandhi and Jawaharlal Nehru, and at that time India was a colony, and yet he had these philosophical leanings. That brings us to the end of this lesson, and I shall briefly summarize. We saw Dr. Bach, how his name is pronounced, his life and his times and events that he witnessed. We had a brief look at his career, and finally we saw the philosophical influences that shaped the man. So friends, thank you very much for your attention, and we shall meet once again in another lesson. Until then, bye bye.